about an EMT named Piper working in South Central LA. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. So we're just going to jump in. Of all the days to be slow, by 1200 we've run only a couple of calls. I met the two-car crew briefly before they left to post in Malibu all morning. William and I have already taken to avoiding each other. I sit at the dining room table with my laptop while William watches television. I look up EMT-related blogs, rants, chats, journals. I start a list of medical slang, the acronyms and nicknames these kinds of websites like to throw around. PFO, pissed and fell over. CATS, cut all to shit. TF Bundy, totally fucked, but unfortunately not dead yet. At 13:02, we get a call for a man down outside a shopping mall. This kind of description is as vague as it gets. It can mean anything from a medical cause, syncopal episode, seizure, low or high blood sugar diabetic, stroke, heart attack, drunk or drug overdose, to a traumatic one, assault, stabbing, gunshot wound. The man could be sleeping or he could be dead. William and I arrived at the Slauson Super Mall, more of an indoor swap meet than an actual mall, where you could buy anything from stripper shoes to speakers to fittings for the bling on your teeth. The fire department arrived before us and located our patient standing in the parking lot near the awning-covered entrance. He's dressed in loose clothing, khakis, and a half-unbuttoned shirt, and he looks meek, a little uncomfortable, a little sad. When asked what hurts the most, where his pain is, what his reason was for calling 911, he says the same thing over and over. I can't function. We walk him to the rig, sit him on the gurney inside, and the lead medic and I climb into the back. The barrage of questions begins. Pain in your head, chest, abdomen, difficulty breathing. Is there ringing in your ears? Is it difficult to see? Can you squeeze my fingers and wiggle your toes? Do you have heart problems or diabetes? Do you feel confused, weak, dizzy? Have you fallen, been hit or bruised? Can you describe how you're feeling? Do you have any pain anywhere? Has this happened to you before? What have you had to eat or drink? What medications are you taking? What kind of medical problems do you have? Drugs, alcohol, anxiety, stress, panic attacks? I can't function. He's alert and oriented, but to every other question says the same thing. He can't function. He's not taking meds. He ate lunch not that long ago. He feels warm from standing in the sun. He doesn't want to hurt himself or anyone else, and one more thing, he can't function. At first it's kind of funny, then it's annoying, then it's sad. The lead medic sits there asking, going through his store of medical information, a mental checklist. Interrupting, I report the guy's vitals one by one. His breathing, pulse, and blood pressure are fine. His lungs are clear bilaterally. His blood is fully oxygenated and traveling to the farthest reaches of his body. His pupils are equal, round, and reactive to light. His skin signs are normal. He's not altered in any way. His blood sugar is perfect. There's a moment of silence, and we all sit there. Okay, the lead medic says. He thinks for a moment. Any hospital in particular you wanted to go to? The man shakes his head. William mumbles something about our tax dollars as he shuts the back doors. The two-car on B shift 7102 consists of the puffed-up Steve Chang, who makes impressive use of the equipment in the exercise room, grunting, and the docile pre-med student, Phil Hall. When we arrive back at station, we find them yelling at each other from the recliners as they play a video game. Even sitting down, Steve's physique is noticeable, his lats and triceps inflated like the orange floaties kids wear in pools. Phil's curly brown hair frames his pleasant face with springs, and a mustache crouches on his upper lip. How was it? Steve asked without looking up, the controller twisting violently in his hands. We totally saved a life, William says. Phil's use of the controller is less frantic, more precise. Sorry to do this to you, man. You dick, Steve says. He tosses the remote to William. Here, whatever you want. But William turns the television off, and for a moment it's silent. Any good calls? I ask, spinning peanut butter onto a plate filled with carrots and celery. You mean like our move up to Malibu, Steve replies. He turns to look at me, holding his index finger to his temple like it's a gun. We're taking in a frequent flyer. Phil stands up to stretch, throwing his chest forward and raising his arms overhead. Don't forget about our hypoglycemic this morning. She was practically convulsing. When we asked how long she'd been like that, her husband said about 2 hours, Steve finishes. I responded to a paper cut once. I'm not kidding. A paper cut in a grown woman's pinky finger, and before you ask, we transported her. Wait a second, what was wrong with your guy? He didn't even know, says William. I sit at the table with my plate and a glass of water and open up my laptop. They continue to joke around, but I find myself unable to join in. Our patient walked out of a shopping mall on a Wednesday afternoon. He didn't make a purchase. He walked toward his parked car or the bus stop and then just stopped dead in his tracks. Not knowing if he wanted to go home, stay put, or go back and buy something. Not knowing if he was hungry, thirsty, tired, lonely, restless, anxious, sick, or crazy. Only knowing he didn't know. It's not a medical complaint. There isn't a thing we or the hospital can do, but all the same, what do you do when you can't function? The day my mother left, she dropped me off at school as usual in the morning. I was in 4th grade. Mom was forever forgetting things, so the entire way to Crestway Elementary, I kept reminding her to not only come to my soccer practice that afternoon, but to bring food. It was her turn to bring a snack for all of us to eat. I kept whining at her not to bring orange slices like she always did. I hated the stickiness the juice left on my fingers. When we took our break, someone else's mother went to the store and brought back popsicles. I was angry Mom forgot to come, forgot to bring us anything. Even orange slices would have been better than a mother who simply hadn't showed. But when I got dropped off at home, Aunt Judy was there, and Dad couldn't get a handle on anything, and my brother Ryan told me there was a note from Mom we weren't allowed to read. It didn't take long before I was convinced she left because of me. I drafted 100 apologies that night, and many nights after, bargaining with her, swearing not to complain about anything ever again if she would just come back. And my shame deepened and warped and spread. It flared up when I had to withdraw from soccer, when I got special treatment from the homeroom teacher, when I would come home to a lopsided household and Dad would steal sips of scotch, thinking Ryan and I didn't notice. What are you working on, Piper? Phil plops down across from me with a massive textbook and an assortment of highlighters. When I realize he's referring to the list I started this morning, I slide it over to him. Phil reads the whole thing once and laughs once, a high-pitched hee-haw sound, which is all it takes to endear him to me. Hilarious, he says. You should add AMF yo-yo. AMF what? Adios, motherfucker, you're on your own. He cracks open the giant book and flips pages until he gets to a drawing of a skinless man flexing his bicep. An inset reveals the layers of muscles found in the upper arm. So what are you in for, he asks. I look at him blankly. You going police, medicine, or fire? Oh, probably nursing. Are you pre-med? Yeah, I used to want to go fire, but I went on a call a while ago that changed all that. He tells me about a stroke patient who had symptoms for 5 days before his wife finally called 911. What would have been reversible by thrombolytics became permanent paralysis of the entire left side of his body. It was so depressing, he says, made me want to go into medicine with an emphasis on education. Even more endeared by him, I have a moment of relief when I realize I'm exactly where I need to be. Everyone around me is in a state of career limbo. Phil tells me Steve used to be skinny, but he made a steady transformation into meathead over the last year. He highlights every single line as he reads. I watch him use the yellow highlighter for a couple lines, then pink for a paragraph, then green for a whole page. From the workout room, I can just make out the sound of a Britney Spears song coming from a very tiny speaker. Is Steve? He thinks we can't hear it, Phil says, grinning. So something to know about Piper is that so most people when they hear that you're an EMT, they get really sort of nervous for you, or they get very like, I could never handle all the blood and guts and gore and dying people, which makes sense that people say that, but it's funny what you can get used to. But for Piper, that kind of stuff doesn't spook her so much. What really terrifies her more than anything is dating. So here's a short bit about, she's had a crush on this woman for like a long time and has never talked to her and doesn't know her name. So I'm just going to read a little bit where she's trying to work up the courage to finally say something. As soon as the glass double doors slide shut between me and the night air, I spot her. She's in the bulk section, refilling plastic numbered vaults with grain and flour. To do this, she has large barrels onto her shoulder from a skinny metal cart and pours from them into the propped openings. She makes it look easy, but it isn't. The sound of heavy barrels slamming against the metal cart attests to their weight. It's not too late to run away. The closer I get, the more I catalog her features. Olive skin, strong jaw, pursed lips, perfect ears, a small birthmark on her stringy neck, and beautiful moody green eyes that stare back at me. How long has she been looking at me? I'm standing here like a slack-jawed stalker. This is awkward. Hello, I say. She nods at me. Hey. She's completely still, waiting. Can I help you with something? Her voice is pure sex. It's low and husky and growling without even trying. I manage, what's your name? She wipes her hands on her apron. Ayla. Ayla, hi, I'm Piper. Can you tell me where the tea section is? She points to her left, middle of aisle 7. My thanks is a whisper. I move past her, careful to hold my head high, careful not to sag into my breastbone. These days the people I'm surrounded by guzzle coffee, soda, energy drinks. Even if I brought tea to station, no one would drink it. Ayla isn't fooled. She must know I came here just to talk to her. She probably thinks I'm crazy. She might even joke around with other employees later. Did you see the weird girl? By the time I reach aisle 7, my entire body feels shamed and electric, angry and alive. It's not my fault I'm awkward. It's been years since I liked anybody. Smoothing down my frizzy hair and t-shirt, I try to remember how it felt to be in a racing swimsuit and goggles right before we want to meet. People are either attracted to me or they're not. The ones who are tend to say things like, there's something about you. Still, I don't want to imagine what I look like right now. I stare at the shelves, pretending to search for something. Maybe a powdered juice mix. Maybe an aromatic chai spice. I want to hear Ayla's voice again and find out what she smells like and ask about her day and run my tongue down the side of her neck. I try to think of it like a flow chart. If I get up the nerve to ask Ayla out, that will be a reward in and of itself because it will mean I've reached a turning point. Even if she says no, I will have an answer. If she says no, I can stop pining after a stranger. No one has ever actually died of embarrassment, and perhaps Ayla will be one of those people who realizes there is something about me despite my frizzy hair and crumpled t-shirt. Forget it. I snatch a plastic wrapped box of organic jasmine green tea with lemon and licorice root and walk back the way I came. Ayla gives me a sly sideways glance as I pass the bulk section. My stubborn chin lifts up. I'm suddenly filled with a sense of injustice. After making it 5 steps past her, I whirl around and march back. She shifts suddenly in a reflexive effort to get away from me. Okay, look, I hear myself say. Look, I'm not good at this, and I know that, but I came here because, well, I thought you might be here. I know that probably sounds weird. I swear I'm not a stalker or anything. I won't ever bother you again. I won't even come here if it feels like I'm bothering you. But I wanted to know if you want to get lunch sometime, on one of your breaks or something. Ayla relaxes and doesn't lean back quite so much. She looks at my flushed face and raises her eyebrows. Lunch? Lunch. Her short dark hair is unkempt chaos, boasting accidental style rather than prim deliberation. Strands stick out in every direction, hang over her face, collect behind her ears, curl up sweetly at the nape of her neck. She's one of those people who can look out at the world through bangs and not seem to mind. At any given moment, with even the smallest shift from her or from the light, she appears now more masculine, now more feminine. There's a toughness to her, sure, but there's also a softness in her frame and her eyes, flashing intelligence, bordered by dark lashes, partially covered by her habit of hiding behind her hair, are easily the most stunning thing about her. Why not, she says. Piper, is it? Meet me here out back, Piper, on Friday at 1 o'clock. She leans over the cart. Her tumbling hair can't mask her grin. I'm just going to read one more short section and then open it up to Q&A. So there's kind of these little vignettes about the body woven in through the book that are about, I don't know, some of them are about like the lungs or the nervous system or how memory works or that kind of thing. And they're kind of like a step out from the story and then you can step back in. So this one is about the heart. You're pretty sure the Egyptians had it right. When deciding what to keep and what to throw away, pull the brain out of the nose with a long hook. Separate and preserve the digestive system into canopic jars, and let a sonoporus watch over the removed lungs. But leave the heart right where it is. Modern science tells you the heart isn't responsible for feelings or decisions any more than your intuition resides in your gut. It tells you that despite Hindu gurus naming the heart a primary chakra, and the Roman physician Galen calling it the seat of emotions, and the ancient North African city of Cyrene using its shape as the symbol for romance, despite these things, colloquial terms like open-hearted and broken-hearted, wearing your heart on your sleeve and letting your heart guide you, are wrongly named, falsely inspired. No, the real wonder of the heart lies in its physiological properties. Each and every cardiac cell a living and microscopic battery, the SA node acting as a conductor for rapid-fire electrical signals, the valves and chambers opening and closing, emptying and filling, and the left ventricle pushing out blood from its trenches with enough force to fight gravity, with enough power to send that crucial fluid to the farthest reaches of the body and back. But even so, none of this explains what you know to be true. You house trillions of exquisite living sculptures daily, blooming neurons extending spindly arms, the curve of your ear and the spiral hiding inside it, your lungs like bellowed instruments swaying in the tides of your breath, the visceral triggers and rhythm keepers, the molecular messengers and music makers, and none of these structures can tell you what you most want to know, any more than the grandparents of origin themselves. Those mirror twin circular staircases spiraling up and around each other could predict not just who you are, but all you would become. Feel the tug of vulnerability, that pure agony of fear and passion, and you will touch your chest and wonder as it swells, glows, expands, consumes. And when people from around the globe and for thousands of years have felt the pain of loss, it is to that hollow, undulating organ beating within the ribcage that they point. Here, they say, fix it. Fix it, please. This is where it hurts. Miss you guys.